Jaguars are looking to hang on to whatever control they have left of the AFC South here as they host the lowly Carolina Panthers. Uh, Considering everything going on with the Jaguars right now, I couldn't think of a better time to play the worst team in the league. But I will say it is not going to be easy. They have not been playing well as of late. They have been getting hit majorly hard with the injury bug, including Trevor Lawrence here. So we're going to break down the game, break down our predictions as well. But before we do that, help us reach our goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. We're about 75 away as of the recording of this video. So subscribe is the easiest way to help us out. Also, it is the easiest way for you to see when we create new content. Got a lot of 2024 material coming out that you do not want to miss. So Ryan, let's get into it here. The Jaguars they stayed in the state of Florida, went up to Tampa, and they just did not show up. I will say I think a lot of it too is coming down. Just in general, Trevor Lawrence is just as banged up as you could probably get while still starting. He came out of the game with a shoulder injury, and their test's going to be done on his shoulder. But he's got, a high ankle sprain now. He's also been dealing with a knee injury. He was coming off a concussion as well, I think, from the week before. And then on top of that as well, I think not having Christian Kirk has been a huge loss to this team. Anton Harrison has been in and out of the lineup, their rookie right tackle. And they are just struggling overall, I think, just to get to the finish line here. And then I will say on the flip side, I know the Carolina Panthers, they are offensively struggling. But that being said, though, they are coming off a 30-point performance against the Packers defense that isn't atrocious, I will say. So that was a home game for them. What do you think – really, how do you think the Jags survive this game and try and get to Week 18 to clinch up the AFC South?
So, for me, they've been making a lot of mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, just poor execution to turnovers. And then defensively, I think they're one of the better run teams, but I still just don't think that they're quite there in the passing game where they'd like to be. And they're just letting teams kind of throw the ball all over the yard on them. And for me, if you are playing the Carolina Panthers, your main goal should be to, stop the run and then get after Bryce Young. Because if you can do that, these weapons are, while they're good, they're old and they don't separate well. And so you're going to be forcing Bryce Young into a lot of jump ball situations and just uncomfortable spots where he has to put the ball maybe in a situation that he doesn't feel as comfortable. And then also, like you said, they've gotten the injury bug a little bit on the offensive side of the ball. Well, not a little bit, but Anton Harrison, Christian Kirk, now Trevor Lawrence, those are three key offensive players for them. And they are really going to struggle to replace those guys. And especially if Trevor Lawrence goes out. We saw CJ Beathard a little bit it was a primetime. Was it Thursday night game against the Bengals game. Yeah. And he looked good, but again, you could clearly see a drop off in play there after Trevor Lawrence went out with that sprained ankle. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to be a lot closer than I think people anticipate because the Panthers defense is good. I would say statistically, they don't fall in the good category. But that's just simply because they're on the field so much. Like they're on the field for 40 minutes out of a game and they just get gassed by the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Now, you go look at it too, and you go and look at their schedule. Their biggest thing, they have had some games where they've just been blown out, especially too by just overall superior teams. Like you go look earlier on, like week 5 and week 6. I mean, they lose by 18 points to the Lions, 21 to the Dolphins. Like they're just never going to compete against those teams. But you go and look at these past couple of weeks, they did get blown out by the Saints, but they were able to beat the Falcons in week 15. They came back and fought hard against the Packers, put up 30 points, actually the most points that they've put up this season. They barely lost to the Bucs in week 13, lost a close one to the Titans, lost a close one to the Bears in week 10. Like they have been in there, and a lot of that too, we've seen that for the past couple of years. They've actually had a pretty solid defense overall as a core. Brian Burns leading the way. But offensively, though, they just have no receivers. And I am glad to see there is overall – people are starting to see that now. It's not just it's starting to see what Bryce Young has been dealing with overall is a point that I'm trying to say. Instead of his just overall performance and he's just not playing well, which he could be playing better, yes. But if you go look at all 22 film, a lot of times, like, no guys are open. Like, nobody's open to throw to. Like, his best option is going to be Adam Thielen, and he's just not the receiver that he was when he was in Minnesota. He's just older. He's on the last legs of his career.
Yeah.
And so, that being said, though, I think that there is an opportunity for them to exploit this Jag secondary. They've given up some of the most passing yards so far this season. And if they're able to give him time and protect him, the Jags only have 32 sacks on the season, which is one of the lower ones in the league. The Falcons actually have more sacks than them, and so that's saying something. And if there is a strength to the Jags defense, it is going to be their front seven overall comparative to their secondary. But there are opportunities, though, still for this Panthers offensive line to try and give Bryce Young some protection so that their receivers can get open and get some separation here. But then to your point, though, as well, they have been running the ball more effectively with Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. So you're starting to see some of the improvements here, especially since the Frank Reich firing. If they're able to get some separation with receivers and able to move the ball down the field, I think this Panthers defense can stymie this Jags offense, especially if Trevor Lawrence doesn't play. And that's going to be the crucial thing. And I think he's just so banged up. I wonder if the Jags are going to take a look at it and see. They still have an opportunity in Week 18 to win the AFC South. Even if they lose this game here, they might need a little bit of help. I also think, too, I wonder if there's going to be some thoughts like, let's look at the longevity past this season. Trevor Lawrence is the face of the franchise. Mm-hmm. You want to make the playoffs every year, but at the same time, though, if you just destroy your quarterback here, we've seen that happen with so many young quarterbacks. Andrew Luck, for example, with the Colts, where he just was getting destroyed and destroyed and destroyed. And the Jags don't really have an offensive line. That's been one of their main weaknesses this entire year.
Yeah. And that to me, I think Cam Robinson started out with the suspension, and then now he's on IR. Anton Harrison is hurt. Walker Little was the right tackle last year. Now he's playing left tackle. Mm-hmm. And so it's just going to be really interesting to see what the Jags are able to piece together and put out on the field. So let's go ahead and get into our predictions here. But before we do that, if you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Tyler, who do you have coming out ahead?
I want to see some chaos here, have Week 18 be absolutely diabolical in so many different ways in so many different games. I'm actually going to go with the Panthers here and see if it gets shaked up. I think I have been impressed with how they've been playing also as a defensive unit. I think the biggest loss, obviously Trevor Lawrence is huge, but Christian Kirk has definitely been a big absence for them here. And I'm trying to see, when is he eligible to come back? He went on IR Week 14, so he's not going to be back by this week.
No.
And the one reason why I think that he is their consistent possession guy, he's able to kind of do all their routes. He's a route running guy, which takes attention away from Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones. Parker Washington has stepped up a little bit, but he is also just still a rookie. He's just not that guy yet. So losing Christian Kirk, I think, might be their biggest loss. Well, no, sorry. Of the skill position players, I think that has had a huge effect on their overall offensive production as well. Trevor Lawrence being banged up is also extremely huge as well. I'm not trying to belittle that at all. But Christian Kirk not being there, and also Trevor Lawrence potentially not being there. We are recording this as a Tuesday night, so we'll have to monitor that status throughout the week. But I'm actually going to go with Carolina in this one. And also, too, I hope that you go with the Jags so I can catch up a little bit here in our season-long prediction.
I am going to go with the Jags under a stipulation. If Trevor Lawrence plays, I'll take the Jaguars just because I think if he plays, he's the best player on the field in that matchup. But if he's not, we know what CJ Beathard is. And I think this Panthers defense will actually have an advantage. And for the first time this season, they would have the best quarterback in the better quarterback in the matchup. And then I think you throw into that Christian Kirk is hurt. Calvin Ridley's really the only weapon that they have because Zay Jones got hurt in last week's matchup also, and he's listed as questionable. And this offensive line is completely riddled with injuries. And so if Trevor Lawrence plays, I'll go with the Jags. But honestly, with how bad the Jags have been playing lately, how injured they are, and then actually I do think that the Panthers have improved. I mean, they're not just a complete pushover now. They're just slightly a pushover. So I still wouldn't classify them as a good NFL team. Even I would say below average at best.
No.
But you can tell they're kind of putting the pieces together. Bryce Young is figuring things out, and I do think the Panthers have more to offer on the defensive side of the ball than stats would say. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. Again, I'm going with the Jags. If Trevor Lawrence plays, you're going with the Panthers outright. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Help Tyler and I reach our goal of getting to 2,333 subscribers. And while you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this matchup. Is it going to be the Carolina Panthers? Is it going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars? None of that. We'll see you guys next week.